r/AskReddit. What is the most extreme form of penny pinching you have ever witnessed? Finally, my parents split everything. My mom has her shampoo, my dad has their own food, drinks, etc. Fast forward, my dad was sick and needed some Pepto-Bismol. He didn't have any. My mom measured out 15 milliliters, then divided that by the cost and my dad paid her 23 cents or whatever it was. Your parents need hobbies, like X, but how would they divide the cost of them? And that's how Captain Dip was made. When I was living in my first apartment, I had one light bulb that I unscrewed and carried from room to room. I may have stolen that light bulb from one of the common rooms in the dorms. Edit. Ray. Questions about complex replacing bulbs for me. There was only one light fixture in the place, the bathroom. It worked. Didn't bring the bulb in there. The rest of the apartment was lit by lamps. This was only for about 2 weeks, till my second semester grad school stipend came. When they were in their late teens, my friends Ryan and Nick shared an apartment together. They owned one fork between the two of them, so they would have conversations like this. Hey Ryan, have you seen the fork? Yeah, I was eating some noodles in front of the TV, so I think it's on the couch. Bender, I'm so depressed. I'm going to go eat a bucket of ice cream. Fry, spoons in the foot powder. Your story reminds me of my story. When I was in college, I had a chair that broke. It was made of wood so it could have been fixed by screwing it back together, but I had no screws. So I went around the dorm with my screwdriver looking for exposed screw heads. It helped that some sections were still in a bit of renovation. Grab a few out of a patch in the wall here, grab from some unpainted baseboards there, and so on. I ended up with drywall and masonry screws. Not really ideal for fixing my chair, but I made it work. After that, whenever I needed a screw for something, I knew just where to go. I saved a whole $3 in screws, and probably pissed the maintenance people right off in the process. Went out to lunch with someone. I drove. We ate similar things, no alcohol, and split the check. I gave her cash and she put it on her card. Back in the car on the way home she said, you realize you shorted me 25 cents. I gave her a quarter and never went out with her socially again. This might actually be the worst kind of person in the world, like $1 in the longest run means absolutely nothing. Odds are if she wasn't weird like that, you would see sore back over on the next shared check. Like if I go out to eat with a friend, and he offers to pay, I'll pay the next time. I don't care if it's the same amount of money. It's the practice or the idea that you bought me a meal, I'll buy you a meal. Unless it's like McDonald's versus a steak restaurant. The store where I work has price matching and another store had 2L pop for $1.49. We also had pop for $1.49. Our policy is to price match 1 penny below the competitor. She wanted 2 bottles. I tell her our price is the same, but she insists I price match it so she can save exactly 2 pennies. It sucked because at the time I wasn't a supervisor, so I had to wait for one to approve the price match, and since it's Canada and we have no pennies, we rounded back up. Effectively did nothing but waste both our time. Till Canada has eliminated the penny. You must have not seen a Canadian in years, because the ones I meet can't help but find any reason to bring it up. Speaking of bringing it up, did you know that in Canada the penny has been eliminated, so prices are either brought up or rounded down when making cash purchases? My ex-boss was at the station to fill her MB with gas when she noticed fuel across the street was a penny less. She got so excited she drove over a curb and sideswiped a bollard trying to get there. Ended up costing her over $2,000 to repair the car. People really need to do the math. 1 cent less per gallon. Let's assume a 2015 Suburban, one of the larger cars, so a 31 gallon tank. To go from empty to full, you're saving 31 cents. People will waste a few dollars in gas to drive across town to save a few cents per gallon. Or even when the gas station across the street has a huge line of cars because they're 1 cent cheaper. If I offered to pay you a dime to waste 10 minutes of your time, I'd be laughed at. My grandparents try to wash paper dishes cups. Edit. I asked her. She just does it to recycle, not a habit from the Depression. Also, we're white. For the few people who asked if we're Asian. And Ziploc bags. My in-laws wash all of them and save them. They also hoard ketchup packets and such from everywhere they eat out. They have tons of these things everywhere. Most of them expired for years. We wash the big Ziploc bags. They're made of pretty tough plastic and they're expensive. Might as well get the most out of them. Used to work in a nightclub. This really shabby looking guy, probably late 50s, would come in and just walk around looking for money people had dropped. One of the saddest things I've seen. All these young people having fun. Some poor lonely old guy walking around scouring the floor for money they dropped. Every bouncer I have worked with does this. I know it's a different circumstance, but you really can find some good money. Drunk people are not very careful with their cash. Yeah, he disappeared after a while. I wonder if he got warned off. He definitely didn't look like the type to get headhunted for something better. He found $1 million in cash on the floor and retired. Being a bagger for a local grocery store in New England, I constantly see obnoxious people getting outraged about a couple of cents when using a ton of coupons. The worst was when a lady had enough to make the bill negative, but apparently it wasn't enough. The store owed her $7. Oh man, so much this. It drives me insane the lengths people will go to just to save a few cents. Worse is when they try to bull it a few cents because they know it's not worth your time to argue with them. I once saw a guy try to argue that his Coke coupon should work for Pepsi. It was the cashier, paid to be there no matter what, and this guy who had to weigh saving $1 against spending 10 minutes arguing with a cashier when he was absolutely wrong. Guess what he picked? You see sir, that's for Coke, not Pepsi. So no. No sir, you can't use them on a different brand. You can use them on other Coca-Cola products, like Diet Coke or Fanta. Long pause for complaining and whining. Sir, I'm sorry but I can't just let you use it on Pepsi. It's a different brand. No sir, it doesn't work like that. Long pause for complaining and whining. Sir, it says Coca-Cola products only right on the coupon. You get the idea. The cashier was very polite the entire time while this dude complained. In the end, he just left about 6 cases of Pepsi sitting there for her to clean up. My roommate doesn't tip. Like, he absolutely refuses to. He thinks that everyone else's tips make up for his lack of leaving one. It makes me really uncomfortable, to the point where I don't like going out to eat with him. Edit. I feel like I should mention that he has the money to afford a tip. He would just rather keep the money for himself. I'm glad to hear that you realize what a lick move that is. Getting tips is the only way I'm paying rent while in university. When I worked at PetSmart, we would regularly have older ladies that would come in when Friskies went on sale of 25 cents a can. I was the inventory manager at the time and dreaded those sales because we could never keep up with demand. I remember this one older lady very clearly though. I only ever saw her come in during those sales. She would buy, no exaggeration, 100 cases of cans and take them home in multiple trips in her old tan Volvo. It was during one of these trips that I got saddled with helping her with the carry out to load her beast of burden. In the middle of stacking, she said me and the babies are going to eat well for a while. I stopped mid-stack, turned to her, and said excuse me because I thought there was no way I could have heard that right. But nope. She proceeded to explain how she got very little money from her pension. SSI was a joke, so she made things stretch because Friskies is totally edible and very yummy. I had one of my stokers do the rest of her trips. I wasn't sure which disturbed me more, the fact that she enjoyed the food, or the fact that in her older years she'd been reduced to eating cat food to survive. I used to frame houses. At the end of the day my boss would walk around the job site and pick up bent nails. He would then proceed to straighten them all out and use them the next day. BTW nails are weighed by the pound. He probably spent a half hour each day to save himself 15-25 cents. Now imagine the money he'd be making saving if that extra time he spent doing that, he was actually building things. Carpenter apprentice here. My boss is always careful to recycle, reuse, don't waste, but also says we have to know what the real cost is. If I spent half an hour saving something worth $2, well, I've just spent $10 in wages to save that $2 thing, so it wasn't really worth it. At an all-you-can-eat buffet I once watched my grandma very slyly scoop food into her purse to eat later. I think she had a container of some sort in there to put the food in, but I'm not entirely sure. She was eccentric. As a broke college student, I used to line my purse with a gallon-sized Ziploc bag and fill it up at buffets or all-you-can-eat shrimp at Red Lobster. It was awesome until I came across an old dried up fried shrimp in my purse 2 months later. Worked for a commercial laundry where, I kid you not, the maintenance manual specified you were to write the date a fluorescent bulb is installed with a marker. When said bulb burned out, you were to calculate the hours used, and if it did not add up to the hours specified on the packaging, you were to contact the manufacturer and demand a partial credit. That is only one of many examples. That's kinda a win for the light bulb company. It's a form of quality control in a real world environment. That kinda data can be important for the people making them. Hey Bob, got any more calls from that laundromat yet? They're lasting longer, thank God. I was working at Target when a woman came forward with an odd assortment of items. I rang them all up for her and it totaled to just below $300. She asked me to hold on for a second and pulled out a plastic bag. It was one of those gallon-sized Ziplocs and it was chock full of coupons and those $5 gift cards you can get through certain deals at Target. Apparently she had called the store or a store ahead of time and had a list of what order to put each of the coupons through. I scanned them one by one. Now when you use a coupon, if it won't work due to some reason like coupons limited to this amount or only when buying such and such product, it will stop you. In this case not a single one did. They all went through. Then she used the gift cards. She ended up paying 10 cents. Please ducking like and subscribe.